you saw my Facebook post about it, but the other day I set up my phone and got the Instagram live stream thing going and painted for half an hour talking the whole while and then went to hit stop and it started recording.
No. No. Oh no.
There was some great monologuing and it's gone, lost to the ages. No one heard it except maybe Mike.
Alas.
I heard someone tell me that Yorick died when Hamlet was quite small, like an infant. And I'm like, then how did he know him? He has a whole speech about knowing him. He describes him in detail.
Well, Hamlet had an eidetic memory. No, just kidding. I think that is untrue. And also, I don't know how that person would know that. Like, it's not specified in the play, so
I didn't know the play well enough to argue. I thought maybe it is specified in the play, but in a way that I hadn't really caught on. And yeah, he does go on for pages about how great Yorick was to him and how he made me laugh and and that was part of the basis for the thing. I wrote a poem about how the king was always gay and the queen knew it and married him and slept with the brother, and Yorick was the king's lover.
Mm-hmm.
And so the four of them kept the secret until Yorick died. And then it was the three of them, and then the king died.
And then the funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage table, and Hamlet got upset.
He did. He didn't realize that his mother was actually marrying his biological father. And I think in the poem I wrote, he had been in the garden and he had also eaten whatever the poisonous thing was. So thereafter, he was very, like, the king died of the brain fever and Hamlet survived it, but he was a little messed up. They call in a couple of doctors to try and talk to him, and he thinks they're his old best friends.
But when the wind is in the west, he can tell a hawk from a handsaw.
And the weather's clear. I'm very sad I missed Rosencrantz and Guildenstern with Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd.
Yeah. That is very sad.
Maybe someone recorded it.
That would be lovely. I hope they did.
Right?
Hope it's out there somewhere for you.
I shall find it someday. Let's see.
For reference, in case anyone is wondering, today I am working on a sock.
Dun dun dun!
It is nearly finished. I'm doing the toe today.
Okay.
Although I don't know why why is this stripe so giant and the rest of them are so small? What is this pattern?
Maybe that's where you fold it, and then it will look smaller.
It's just how the yarn is dyed, and this is just how it happened to fall.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, why did they dye one giant stripe?
I have no idea.
Makes no sense to me.
We will never know.
We will never know.
We will never know. Let's see. Hang on. Did we get through Feanor's speech about no other race shall oust us? Oh yeah, and he swore a terrible oath, right?
Yes, he swore a terrible oath. All his sons swore the same oath because they're idiots. Yeah. And then they left, and Finarfin stayed behind to be king.
Yep. And Finarfin spoke softly as was his wont and sought to calm the Noldor.
Yes. Finarfin! But also we were past that point because we were to the point where like they had actually left.
All right, so they've left. Nay, let us be gone, and straightway Feanor and his sons began to prepare for the marching forth.
Even further, I think we might have finished the chapter.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't remember this bit, though. Feanor's voice grew so great and potent that even the Herald of the Valar bowed before him. Did that happen already?
That happened already.
Okay. But we haven't talked about the kinslaying.
No, I don't think we've talked about the kinslaying.
Okay, so there's a break here. Now Feanor led the Noldor northward because his first purpose was to follow Morgoth. Have we been there?
Mm, that sounds like where we left off, I think. Yes.
Moreover, Tuna, beneath Taniquetil, was set right nigh to the girdle of Arda, and there the great sea was immeasurably wide, whereas ever northward the sundering seas grew narrower, as the wasteland of Araman and the coasts of Middle-earth drew together. But as the mind of Feanor cooled and took counsel, he perceived, overlate, that all these great companies would never overcome the long leagues to the north, nor cross the seas at the last, save with the aid of ships. Yet it would need long time and toil to build so great a fleet, even were there any among the Noldor skilled in that craft. What, Feanor, is there something you can't do?
Well, because the other dudes are the shipbuilders.
That's right. He resolved now, therefore, to persuade the Teleri, ever friends to the Noldor, to join with them. And in his rebellion he thought that thus the bliss of Valinor might be further diminished, and his power for war upon Morgoth be increased. He hastened then to Alqualondë, and spoke to the Teleri as he had spoken before in Tirion. But the Teleri were unmoved by aught that he could say. They were grieved indeed at the going of their kinsfolk and long friends, but would rather dissuade them than aid them, and no ship would they lend, nor help in the building against the will of the Valar. As for themselves, they desired now no other home but the strands of Eldamar, and no other lord than Olwe, prince of Alqualondë. And he had never lent ear to Morgoth, nor welcomed him to his land, and he trusted still that Ulmo and the other great among the Valar would redress the hurts of Morgoth, and that the night would pass yet to a new dawn. Then Feanor grew wrathful, for he still feared delay, and hotly he spoke to Olwe. "You renounce your friendship even in the hour of our need," he said. Oh, God.
Feanor is such a tool.
Yet you were glad indeed to receive our aid when you came at last to these shores, faint-hearted loiterers, and well-nigh empty-handed. In huts on the beaches would you be dwelling still, had not the Noldor carved out your haven and toiled upon your walls. But Olwe answered, "We renounce no friendship, but it may be the part of a friend to rebuke a friend's folly. And when the Noldor welcomed us and gave us aid, otherwise than you spoke, in the land of Aman we were to dwell forever as brothers whose houses stand side by side."
Mic drop. You're not my friend anymore. I'm your friend, and that's why I'm telling you that what you're doing is stupid.
But as for our white ships, those you gave us not. We learned not that craft from the Noldor, but from the lords of the sea. And the white timbers we wrought with our own hands, and the white sails were woven by our wives and our daughters. O Tolkien.
In fairness to Tolkien, weaving is like extremely important. So that's not actually any kind of necessarily any sexist slight.
Right.
Like especially weaving sails, holy shit, is that hard work and important and time consuming.
And a big deal, yeah.
And a big deal, yeah.
It's and I may as well, when I'm thinking about it, recognize that in as much as most cultures have a division of labor between the sexes, it does tend to be the women who do the weaving.
In a general sense, well, and particularly in the cultures that Tolkien is drawing from.
Yeah.
Like in Nordic cultures, very much so, yeah.
Yep.
But also in Nordic cultures, again, it's an extremely like respected thing to do. It's not like oh, that's women's work. It's like, oh shit, we're all gonna freeze to death if someone doesn't do this. Thanks for doing it.
Therefore we will neither give them nor sell them for any league or friendship. For I say to you, Feanor, son of Finwë, these are to us as are the gems of the Noldor, the work of our hearts, whose like we shall not make again. Guess who's going to burn them?
No.
Thereupon Feanor left him in a huff, and sat in dark thought beyond the walls of Aquilonde until his host was assembled. When he judged that his strength was enough, he went to the haven of the swans and began to man the ships that were anchored there, and to take them away by force. But the Teleri withstood him, and cast many of the Noldor into the sea. Then swords were drawn, and a bitter fight was fought upon the ships and about the lamplit quays and piers of the haven, and even upon the great arch of its gate. Thrice the people of Feanor were driven back, and many were slain upon either side. But the vanguard of the Noldor were succoured by Fingon with the foremost of the host of Fingolfin, who coming up found a battle joined and their own kin falling, and rushed in before they knew rightly the cause of the quarrel. Some thought indeed that the Teleri had sought to waylay the march of the Noldor at the bidding of the Valar. Thus at last the Teleri were overcome, and a great part of their mariners that dwelt in Alquilonde were wickedly slain. For the Noldor were become fierce and desperate, and the Teleri had less strength, and were armed for the most part, but with slender bows. Then the Noldor drew away their white ships, and manned their oars as best they might, and rowed them north along the coast. And Olwe called upon Osse, but he came not, for it was not permitted by the Valar that the flight of the Noldor should be hindered by force. But Uinen wept for the mariners of the Teleri, and the sea rose in wrath against the slayers, so that many of the ships were wrecked, and those in them drowned. Of the kinslaying at Alquilonde more is told in that lament which is named Noldolante, the fall of the Noldor, that Maglor made ere he was lost. Nonetheless, the greater part of the Noldor escaped, and when the storm was past, they held on their course, some by ship and some by land. But the way was long and ever more evil as they went forward. After they had marched for a great while in the unmeasured night, they came at length to the northern confines of the guarded realm, upon the borders of the empty waste of Ahriman, which were mountainous and cold. There they beheld suddenly a dark figure standing high upon a rock that looked down upon the shore. Some say that it was Mandos himself, and no lesser herald of Manwë. And they heard a loud voice, solemn and terrible, that bade them stand and give ear. Then all halted and stood still, and from end to end of the hosts of the Noldor the voice was heard speaking the curse and prophecy which is called the prophecy of the North, and the doom of the Noldor. Much it foretold in dark words which the Noldor understood not, until the woes indeed after befell them. But all heard the curse that was uttered upon those that would not stay nor seek the doom and pardon of the Valar. Tears unnumbered ye shall shed, and the Valar will fence Valinor against you and shut you out, so that not even the echo of your lamentation shall pass over the mountains. On the house of Feanor the wrath of the Valar lieth from the west unto the uttermost east, and upon all that will follow them it shall be laid also. Their oath shall drive them, and yet betray them, and ever snatch away the very treasures that they have sworn to pursue. To evil end shall all things turn that they begin well, and by treason of kin unto kin, and the fear of treason, shall this come to pass. The dispossessed shall they be forever. Ye have spilled the blood of your kindred unrighteously, and have stained the land of Aman. For blood ye shall render blood, and beyond Aman you shall dwell in death's shadow. For though Eru appointed to you to die not in Ea, and no sickness may assail you, yet slain ye may be, and slain ye shall be, by weapon, and by torment, and by grief. And your houseless spirits shall come then to Mandos. There long shall ye abide, and yearn for your bodies, and find little pity, though all whom you have slain shall entreat for you. And those that endure in Middle-earth and come not to Mandos shall grow weary of the world as with a great burden, and shall wane, and become as shadows of regret before the younger race that cometh after. The Valar have spoken.
This book is a real downer.
Yeah, and we're only like 70 pages in, so maybe it gets better. I know I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to Beren and Luthien, but I don't know the rest. I haven't. We might skip of Turin Turambar because I've read The Children of Hurin, and Turin is his son, and that makes the kinslaying at Alqualande look like a summer picnic.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's definitely skip anything we know is super depressing.
Right. Then many quailed, but Feanor hardened his heart and said, We have sworn, and not lightly. This oath we will keep. I'm sorry. I needed to find my eyeballs after they rolled.
I don't think that, I don't know if you saw me, but same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the conversation is, the powers of the earth have declared that your oath will destroy you, and you will never be able to keep it, ever, 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 ever. And he's like, yeah, we will.
He's just such an asshole.
I'm rubber and you're glue.
I know you are, but what am I?
We are threatened with many evils, and treason not least. Yeah, that was mentioned. But one thing is not said, that we shall suffer from cowardice, from cravens, or the fear of cravens. Therefore, I say that we will.
No, that's kind of the opposite of your problem, bro.
Right.
Like, maybe you should suffer from cowardice, just saying.
Just saying. I mean, when you call cowardice not walking willfully into stupidity, then yeah, I would embrace the cowardice.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just a thing. Therefore I say that we will go on, and this doom I add. The deeds that we shall do shall be the matter of song until the last days of Arda. Yeah, but they're going to be sad songs, dude.
I was going to say, that you should be more specific about what type of songs.
Yeah. But in that hour, Finarfin forsook the march and turned back, being filled with grief. Yay! And with bitterness against the house of Feanor because of his kinship with Olwe of Alqualande. And many of his people went with him, retracing their steps in sorrow, until they beheld once more the far beam of the Mindon upon Tuna still shining in the night, and so came at last to Valinor. There they received the pardon of the Valar, and Finarfin was set to rule the remnant of the Noldor in the Blessed Realm. But his sons were not with him, for they would not forsake the sons of Fingolfin, and all Fingolfin's folk went forward still, feeling the constraint of their kinship and the will of Feanor, and fearing to face the doom of the Valar, since not all of them had been guiltless of the kinslaying at Alqualande. We know Finarfin didn't shed any blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finarfin would never do that. Well, and like the whole thing is that he's like, nah, dude, those were my friends.
Right?
Like,
I'm gonna go back and get whatever's coming to me. And the Valar are like, You're cool.
You're cool. Thanks for having the one brain cell in your family.
Fuck.
I
Did you
mean,
bring
that
your
really
son?
is the problem.
No. And this whole, I may as well be hanged for a sheep as a lamb thing. Like, I can't go back. I've already commit murder. I need to keep criming.
Double jeopardy. I can't go back until I've committed 2 murders because then they cancel out.
That's not what that doesn't think it means what you think it means. Moreover, Fingon and Turgon were bold and fiery of heart, and loath to abandon any task to which they had put their hands until the bitter end, if bitter it must be. So the main host held on, and swiftly the evil that was foretold just now began its work.
Really, you know what the message is here? Real winners quit.
Yeah.
Just as the meme says, just walk out.
Just walk
Hit
out.
the bricks.
Some days you're just fucked.
What's that from?
Oh, it's this fantastic, like Deepak Chopra parody, and it shows basically any video where a major fail is happening, and you hear a voice saying, "When the world turns against," I can't do the accent. "When the world turns against you and everything seems to be fucked, just stop. Some days you just can't win. Go home. Go back to bed."
Yes, that is the message here.
Do it.
The Noldor should have gone back to bed.
They should have gone back to bed. The Noldor came at last far into the north of Arda, and they saw the first teeth of the ice that floated in the sea, and knew that they were drawing nigh to the Helcaraxe. For between the land of Aman, that in the north curved eastward, and the west shores of Endor, which is Middle-earth, that bore westward, oh my god, we're in a shared universe with the...
I was going to say, Endor.
Endor.
Yeah.
Middle-earth, Endor. I always knew I was an Ewok. That bore westward, there was a narrow...
Wait. Does this mean Ewoks are hobbits? I've connected the dots.
But they're hobbits that live in the trees. They moved into Lothlorien when the elves left.
And started eating people.
Well, only bad people. Well, no. They wanted to eat Han Solo, didn't they?
I mean, he's sort of morally gray.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They moved into the trees and started eating people.
I feel like Endor is really more like Mirkwood than Lothlorien, though.
I think you're right.
Like, that makes more sense if the hobbits kind of moved into Mirkwood, and then, like, that's sort of the kind of place that might turn you into a cannibal.
They're not cannibals. They're not humans. So any people they eat are a completely different species from them.
All right, an anthropophage, then.
Yeah.
Cannibal is easier to say.
But we're going to be correct. Anyway, whenever I picture Aman and Middle-earth coming together in the north, all I see is the Bering Sea between like Russia and Alaska, and I'm like, so what you're saying is
Middle-earth is round?
Middle-earth is the Americas, which means that Aman is China.
Or conversely, Middle-earth is Europe and Aman is Connecticut.
But they're not that close together.
Wait, so then Amon is Newfoundland, which explains Finarfin being there, and he's like, "Hey, welcome to Amon. I'm
Oh,
Finarfin," and he's just got a really thick Newfie accent.
oh boy, howdy. Oh, I don't think I want to go north anymore, guys.
This seems like a bad idea, boys.
Anyway, so there was a narrow strait through which the chill waters of the encircling sea and the waves of Belaguer flowed together, and there were vast fogs and mists of deathly cold, and the sea streams were filled with clashing hills of ice and the grinding of ice deep sunken. Such was the Helcaraxe, and there none yet had dared to tread, save the Valar only, and Ungoliant. Ooh, a painting of a huge, ominous black spider walking across the icebergs in the mist, in the dark.
Yes, but like it should be mostly icebergs and mist, and then like off in the distance, the huge black spider.
Yeah.
That would be cool as fuck.
Cool as fuck. All right. I'll see what I can do when I get back into landscapes.
Yes.
It's been a while.
And then, and you could have Morgoth walking next to her for scale.
Right. So it doesn't just look like a glass of ice
look like
with a house spider in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it would be like the cracks, and then like Ungoliant, and then Morgoth.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fucking awesome.
Therefore, Feanor halted, and the Noldor debated what course they should now take. Go home. But they began to suffer anguish from the cold and the clinging mists through which no gleam of star could pierce. And many repented of the road and began to murmur, especially those that followed Fingolfin, cursing Feanor and naming him as the cause of all the woes of the Eldar. I mean, you're not wrong, but you did follow him.
Yeah. I like how Tolkien says it as if it's not true. It's like, no, that is in fact what happened. Like,
yeah.
Like, yeah, Morgoth helped, but if Feanor wasn't such a hot-headed asshole, none of this would have happened.
Nary a bit. If he'd stopped to think for 5 minutes and stopped being a distrustful douchebag.
It seems like Feanor has just never thought for 5 minutes in his life.
Yeah, let's see what he does now. But Feanor, knowing all that was said, took counsel with his sons, and 2 courses only they saw, to escape from Ahriman and come into Endor, by the straits or by ship. But the Helcaraxe they deemed impassable, whereas the ships were too few. Many had been lost upon their long journey, and there remained now not enough to bear across all the great host together. Yet none were willing to abide upon the western coast, while others were ferried first. Already the fear of treachery was awake among the Noldor. Therefore it came into the hearts of Feanor and his sons to seize all the ships and depart suddenly, for they had retained the mastery of the fleet since the Battle of the Haven, and it was manned only by those who had fought there and were bound to Feanor. And as though it came at his call, there sprang up a wind from the northwest, and Feanor slipped away secretly with all whom he deemed true to him, and went aboard, and put out to sea, and left Fingolfin in Ahriman. And since the sea was there narrow, steering east and somewhat south, he passed over without loss, and first of all the Noldor set foot once more upon the shores of Middle-earth. And the landing of Feanor was at the mouth of the firth, which was called Drengist, and ran into Dor Loman. But when they were landed, Maedhros, the eldest of his sons, and on a time the friend of Fingon, ere Morgoth's lies came between, spoke to Feanor, saying, Now, what ships and rowers will you spare to return, and whom shall they bear hither first? Fingon the valiant? Then Feanor laughed, as one fey, and he cried, None and none. What I have left behind I count now no loss. Needless baggage on the road it has proved. Let those that cursed my name curse me still, and wind their way back to the cages of the Valar. Let the ships burn. Then Maedhros alone stood aside, but Feanor caused fire to be set to the white ships of the Teleri. So in that place which was called Loscar, at the outlet of the Firth of Drengist, ended the fairest vessels that ever sailed the sea, in a great burning, bright and terrible. And Fingolfin and his people saw the light afar off, red beneath the clouds, and they knew that they were betrayed. This was the first fruits of the kinslaying and the doom of the Noldor. They don't like me, do they? Well, let's prove them right!
I seriously hate this guy.
I do too. I really do. And yet he's spoken of with reverence in like the Lord of the Rings, like, ooh, maybe the hands of Feanor himself wrought the Palantiri in ages past. And I'm like, Feanor himself can suck my dick. Okay? Ugh.
Agreed.
Thank you. Then Fingolfin, seeing that Feanor had left him to perish in Ahriman, or return home in shame to Valinor, was filled with bitterness. But he desired now, as never before, to come by some way to Middle-earth and meet Feanor again. Yeah, Fingolfin, kick his ass! And he and his host wandered long in misery, but their valor and endurance grew with hardship. For they were a mighty people, the elder children undying of Eru Iluvatar, but new come from the blessed realm, and not yet weary with the weariness of earth. The fire of their hearts was young, and led by Fingolfin and his sons, and by Finrod and Galadriel, they dared to pass into the bitterest north, and finding no other way, they endured at last the terror of the Helcaraxe and the cruel hills of ice. Few of the deeds of the Noldor thereafter surpassed that desperate crossing in hardihood or woe. There Elenwe, the wife of Turgon, was lost, and many others perished also. And it was with a lessened host that Fingolfin set foot at last upon the outer lands. Small love for Feanor or his sons had those that marched at last behind him and blew their trumpets in Middle-earth at the first rising of the moon. I don't know how Feanor dies. I really hope Fingolfin stabs him in the eye.
I hope anyone stabs him in the eye. Hell, I hope he trips on a banana peel and falls and breaks his neck.
Stabs himself in the eye.
That would be fine with me.
Yeah.
I hope he does an our flag means death, and someone just goes and accidentally stabs him in the eye.
That was one of the funniest things. Oh. Chapter 10 of the Sindar, who had nothing to do with any of this, and were just like
The Sindar are like, a lot of yelling going on up there.
It got darker. Now, as has been told, the power of Elwë, don't confuse Elwë with Olwë, because Elwë and Olwë were brothers, but Olwë went and Elwë didn't.
Elwë is the one with the steakhouse.
That's right. The power of Elwë and Melian increased in Middle-earth, and all the elves of Beleriand, from the mariners of Círdan to the wandering hunters of the Blue Mountains beyond the river Gelion, owned Elwë as their lord. Elu Thingol, he was called, King Greymantle in the tongue of his people. They are called the Sindar, the grey elves of starlit Beleriand, and although they were Morriquendi, under the lordship of Thingol and the teaching of Melian, they became the fairest and the most wise and skillful of all the elves of Middle-earth. And at the end of the first age of the chaining of Melkor, when all the earth had peace, and the glory of Valinor was at its noon, there came into the world Luthien, the only child of Thingol and Melian. Though Middle-earth lay for the most part in the sleep of Yavanna, in Beleriand, under the power of Melian, there was life and joy, and the bright stars shone as silver fires. And there in the forest of Neldoreth, Luthien was born, and the white flowers of Nifredil came forth to greet her as stars from the earth. Yeah, the rest of us get like an astrology sign and like a baby blanket. She got a brand new species of flower that bursts forth to celebrate her birth.
In fairness, we don't know that a brand new species of flower doesn't burst forth to celebrate everyone's birth. It just might not be nearby.
Right? Could be in the depths of the Amazon rainforest, in fact.
Although it's much more likely that a brand new species of beetle bursts forth because there are a lot more of those.
And they do evolve quite rapidly. It came to pass during the second age of the captivity of Melkor that dwarves came over the blue mountains of Ered Luin into Beleriand. Themselves they named Khazad, but the Sindar called them Naugrim, the stunted people.
Rude.
It was a different time.
In the words of Shane Madej, it's easy to condemn from our standpoint in history. And so we do condemn wholeheartedly.
Oh, I saw a fantastic post about 102-year-old grandma showing off pictures from her childhood, and she was pointing to 3 little girls, and she was like, that was before Derek was Derek.
It's always, trans people have always existed, and it is very often in history not been a big deal.
No. In fact, it's only ever a big deal when someone wants to make a political get political advantage out of it, out of scaring people with fear of the other.
Whatever. Yeah.
Oh, the other name for them, they called them the stunted people and Gonhirim, masters of stone.
See, that's nicer. Stick with that.
Better. Yeah. Far to the east were the most ancient dwellings of the Naugrim, but they had delved for themselves great halls and mansions after the manner of their kind in the eastern side of Ered Luin, and those cities were named in their own tongue Gabel Gathol and Tumun Zahar. To the north of the great height of Mount Dolmed was Gabel Gathol, which the elves interpreted in their tongue Belegost, that is, Mickelberg. Can we not translate into human? Because our human words apparently are stupid.
Right? I'm like, Mickelberg? Okay, sure.
And southward was delved Tumun Zahar by the elves named Norgrod or Hollowbold. I like that better.
I like that better too.
Greatest of all the mansions of the dwarves was Khazad-dûm, the Dwarodelf, Had Hodrond in the elvish tongue, that was afterwards in the days of its darkness called Moria, because Mor means dark, which is where we get Morgoth, Moria, and hang on, Mordor.
Mordor. There, I was like, there's another more one. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yep. And it's nice, frankly, to read about a place that still exists in the later book, because a lot of they're like, oh, the mountains and the fucking Beleriand. Beleriand's underwater right now. Like, as far as the hobbits are concerned, the ocean to the west, that was where Beleriand was. It's fucking Atlantis. So they're describing all these beautiful places, and I'm like, yeah, that's gone. That's gone. Oh, that one's still here.
I mean, it is fairly said that Lord of the Rings is a post-apocalyptic road trip story.
It really is. Although I love the movies, always will. I've wondered ever since I started reading the books where that big head came from that was near Parthgalen. You know, where Boromir turned on Frodo. They had that massive set piece that was that beautiful head, and in the movie it's like, oh yes, this is remnants of an older civilization, but now I'm like, what was that? Who was that?
I feel like that was part of
The Argonath?
This no, the Argonath are still there. The seeing bench, the place at the
Oh,
top of the hill. You
could
know what
be.
I'm talking about. There's a name for
Pentatonic?
it though.
No, that's the place in Ithilien. I'm on Hen.
Amon Hen, yes. I feel like it was from the structure of Amon Hen because all that's left is the seat at the top, but you can see there was a whole building around it. So that's what
Right?
I always thought it was connected with.
I think that's probably valid. I would think that maybe when the old stonemasons were preparing to carve up Amon Hen and the Argonath and all that, this was like a practice rock for them.
I mean, it's possible.
Like maybe it
I
didn't
would
fall
think
off of anything. It was just a rock
it
that they
was. We're like, let's turn this one into a phase two.
let's see how it
Um,
wears, just cuz we need to know things about the strata
it could be. I was
and what
definitely getting
tools
more
we'll
of a
need.
yeah. I was getting more of a there's a body underneath the thousands of years of forest floor vibe, but
Right? Could very well be. Um, we'll finish this paragraph. Hang on. But it was far off in the mountains of mist beyond the wide leagues of Eriador, and to the Eldar came but as a name and a rumor from the words of the dwarves of the Blue Mountains. Like, that's way far in the west. East. That's way far east. We'll never go that far east. Oh.
famous last words.
The fires on the horizon of the ships.
That is perhaps my least favorite thing that has happened in this entire book so far. Like, I thought it would be the death of the trees, but no, I'm pissed off that he burned the ships of the Teleri. Like,
Yeah. After they told him, no, these are our Silmarils.
these are our Silmarils. This is the work that we will never again be able to do, and we love it so much. Burned them just for spite. Like, what a absolute.
He's psychotic. He's got
I
he's got Middle Earth syphilis, whatever. I just holes in his brain.
I hate him. I hate him so much.
I hate him with
Flames,
poison.
flames at the side of my face, heaving breaths.
I look forward to his death with great delight, even if we have to skim to get to it.
Agreed.
I don't know when it is. But yeah.
At this point, we're just spite reading the Silmarillion because we want to read about how Feanor dies.
When we get to it, we'll read it 3 or 4 times just for catharsis. Like, yeah. Stab him again!
Well, on that note,
yep, I've got to go. I love you.
I love you too.
I'll see you in a week.
Indeed, indeed.
Possibly at the con.
Possibly at the con.
Okay. Cuidado.
Diamas.